Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. We just finished up a powerful and amazing session by our keynote speaker, Sarah Weston, founder of 911 Wonder Women Inc. And our next speaker for today, for day two of the 2021 Dare to Be Great 3 conference, is going to be Brian McMurdo, an EMP, a 911 professional, and he is doing a session called Overcoming Obstacles, Building a Better You. Take it away, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you, Ricardo. And man, I appreciate all that you're doing with this conference. I know you've put a ton of work in it, a lot of late nights and early mornings. And man, just what you've done with this the past two, and then here the third one to close out the trilogy of greatness. Awesome. So thank you for doing that. Also, some of these industry partners, the sponsors, man, some just great sessions. Really appreciate their support for the industry as well. And I know we've got a wide ranging audience tuning in. Some in public safety and some not. But I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to those in public safety. Our emergency telecommunicators, police and fire, EMS. Our military, thank you all for the sacrifices that you make to keep our community safe. I know, a lot of the telecommunicators right now are putting a ton of hours in. Some maybe on the brink of burnout, and just the sacrifices that you make at home, in the workplace. I just want you to know I really appreciate it. I know so many in the community appreciate it. Thank you for being the calm voice in the midst of the chaos. I'm honored to be here to share with you today. I've been in the public safety industry for over 22 years now, and the majority of that time was spent in the 911 center. I worked at the Hamilton County Communication Center, which is here in Southwest Ohio, the Cincinnati area. And I started off there at a young age and on third shift. It was the first time I ever worked third shift, but that's where I was. So I ended up spending about a little over 12 years on third shift. But I came in as a newbie and was learning the job, enjoyed it, just found out it was something I really loved. And I worked my way up, became a training officer, really enjoyed that, helping other people learn the job, and moved into management. I was a supervisor, then was able to move up and lead an entire shift and a couple of supervisors, and then promoted to shift manager and ultimately operations manager. Really enjoyed my time there, but I did have the opportunity to go into the private sector, and that was a very difficult choice, but I really that opportunity and the team that was being developed and the company, it was just an opportunity that I could not pass up. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but you're going to have to bear with me today. I've done this presentation a couple times, several times, but it's always difficult. And it's difficult because what I'm going to share with you is personal. It's my story, and I'm the type of person who keeps a lot of my problems, my struggles, to myself. I try to work through them on my own and not burden other people with them. But I've decided to share my story, my struggles, in hopes that it may help somebody that's tuning in. Now, you see, I found that many times when we are going through something, there's usually someone else that is going through something as well, maybe something similar, or maybe they've gone through that same situation that you're going through. But by sharing our stories, we're able to help and encourage others. And it's important that we do that. It really is, and especially in today's world. So I realize, some of you tuning in, you may be facing some struggles, some obstacles, some challenges that are just right up on you. And it may not just be in the workplace. It might be at home, in relationships or whatever it is. Maybe you're feeling stuck where you're at. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling burnout. Maybe you're at the end of your rope. I'm hoping that in our time together today, that you'll realize a few things. One, your true potential. I hope that you'll realize that you can do more than what you know. And I hope you'll get motivated to get out of your comfort zone and overcome some of these obstacles that you're facing in your life. And while some of this information is very basic, I hope that you'll be able to take some of this and apply it to your work life, and not only your work life, but your home life and personal life as well. So here's a brief little overview. I want to give you a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. So in our time together, we're going to talk about obstacles, what they are. I want you to identify your obstacles. So as we're going through this, I really want you to think of those things that you're up against, and you know what you're up against, and you know what you do when you come up against them. So I really want us to think about that today as we're going through this. Tomorrow we're going to talk about your comfort zone, what it is, and why we've got to get out of it. So important that you get out of your comfort zone. And we're going to talk about building a better you. And in building a better you, there's some things you've got to do. You've got to take a good look at yourself. And I'm going to ask you, how do you see you? We'll talk about who building a better you benefits. And we're going to talk about finding your why. So important to find your why. And then we'll give you some things that will help you, the things that you need to do to be successful at building a better you. So what are obstacles? Obstacles are something that blocks one's way or prevents or hinders progress. Now, sometimes these obstacles can be can seem so overwhelming. We can come up and look and see the impossibility of it. So obstacles are something that blocks one's way or hinders our progress. Now, if we were all in the same room and I asked the question of how many here, that would be great if we were all in the same room. That would be awesome. But if we were all in the same room and I asked the question, how many of you have ever faced obstacles, faced challenges in their life? I have no doubt practically every one of us would raise their hand. We all face obstacles. So what obstacles are you up against? And I know that this past year, 2020, threw unbelievable obstacles are in our path. We didn't see a lot of that coming. And so not only in the centers, not only at home, we were dealing with so many different challenges and obstacles. Maybe it was, if you have kids, now having to do school virtually, figuring things out. And in the workplace, I know there was so many challenges there as well. But many times we face similar obstacles. And maybe those obstacles, and this is where I want you to be thinking about, what are you up against right now? Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's your job. Maybe relationships. Your spouse or significant other, your health or your family's health. Maybe it's the death of a loved one. Maybe it's the loss of a job. Sometimes these obstacles, sometimes they just come out of nowhere. Sometimes they can knock us down to our knees and really just shake us at our core. It's important that we identify these obstacles and what we do when we come up against them. a couple years, or actually a couple of weeks before Christmas in 2019, we got some bad news about my dad. He was diagnosed with an aggressive stage 4 lung cancer that had spread into his lymph nodes. And his health has been up, or had been up and down for many years. But the news of this aggressive cancer really it hit our family hard. The doctors decided that my dad would just do immunotherapy. They thought that was the best for him at that time, and it kept the cancer at bay for several months. I'm going to talk more about my dad here in a little bit. But when we come up against obstacles, it's important that we identify them. We have to not only identify them, but we have to recognize what we do when we come up against them. And I want to ask you, what do you do? Do you come up against it, see the impossibility of overcoming it, and retreat back to what you know? Retreat to what you're comfortable with. Several years ago, I found myself in an extremely low point in my life. I was in a dark place. For one, I was tipping the scales at 430 pounds. I was stressed out to the max with my job. I was dealing with some health issues of my parents and my wife's parents, and there were several other things that were just kind of piled on there. I realized that I was depressed and that I needed help. And I recall that moment that I recognized that I was truly at a crossroads. I want to share a little bit of that with you. It was a warm summer evening, and I had put the kids to bed. My wife had went to bed a little earlier, and I was the only one awake. I had all kinds of stuff running through my head that night, and I decided I was just going to go outside, and I was going to turn the porch light off and just sit in the dark. Our street doesn't have any street lights, so when I went out there, shut the porch light off, it was dark. Pulled the tailgate of the truck bed down, and I sat there. And as I was sitting there, just these thoughts just kept going around in my head. I was feeling frustrated and alone. I thought, I'm going to reach out to a few people. And so I sent a text message out and just said, hey, how's it going? And hoping I would get a response, but I didn't that night. And I halfway wasn't expecting it, because I knew like one of the person I texted was working and they would probably be tied up. The other ones were probably sleeping. But I felt alone. And all these thoughts, thoughts of work. I had taken a few calls that had just, it's something I couldn't forget. I had to deal with line of duty deaths of two firefighters. And I was thinking about my personal life, my weight, my dad and his health, my childhood, all these things running recklessly through my head. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I had some irrational thoughts that night. I had some dark thoughts. Thoughts that the world would be a better place without me. That my family would be better off without me. That I was worth more dead than alive. Just some crazy thoughts. I didn't do anything irrational that night, but I realized the low point I was at and the uncharted territory that I was in. I made it back into the house that morning. It was about 4:30 in the morning. I went into bed, just slipped in there quietly, didn't wake my wife, and just shortly after, she had to get up and get ready, and she went to work. but she didn't know the hell I was going through that night. In the following days, it took all within me just to get out of bed. I had hit my low point, and I knew that I needed help. I was talking about my childhood a little bit earlier. Overall, I had a good childhood. My parents cared for me and my two younger brothers. My dad, he worked hard. He lived and breathed his work. He put a ton of hours in every week and worked hard to provide for our family. I remember when I was in high school, the branch that he was working for closed down, and they offered him a position, up in Columbus, 2 hours north, and we're down here in Cincinnati. And he ended up taking that position, but commuting, would stay up there during the week and work, and then come home on the weekends. My dad's health, it wasn't the greatest growing up. He had always struggled with weight. He was morbidly obese, and at his highest weight, he's just under 700 pounds. And I realized my dad had a great deal of stress in his job. And how he handled and coped with it was through the food. He didn't, drink and or do drugs or anything like that. Ultimately, his health and weight prevented him from continuing to work. And this had a significant impact on my family. Now, I do want to say over the years, my dad lost some weight and his health improved somewhat. But, as a kid, we didn't go to Major League Baseball games. My dad couldn't fit in the seats. He couldn't walk into the ballpark. We didn't go to the amusement parks. He couldn't fit into the rides. And I remember one time he drove us up by the local amusement park, and we pulled into a parking lot close by, and you could see the tops of the roller coasters. And we sat there, and I remember, with my brothers and we just had the feeling of, oh, we want to be in there. We want to ride these things. But I think, I look back at this, and I'll share a little bit more here in a second, but I know my dad didn't do this to hurt us. Now I realized that he wanted to take us there, but couldn't. And I guess the thought of, just having us watch from a parking lot was the next best thing. And I got a few pictures of myself up there. I don't like posting pictures of myself, but there we are, the whole world to see. As a father to my own kids, I was coming to the realization that I was heading down the same direction as my dad. I was able to take my kids to the amusement parks, but I couldn't fit into the roller coasters. I remember taking my oldest son to Kings Island, and he wanted to ride his first roller coaster, and I wanted to take him on it. And I stood in line with him, and he was excited. I was excited, but at the same time, I was nervous because I knew I was a big guy, and I didn't know if I would fit in that roller coaster. But as I sit there, I started comparing myself to other guys, the other big guys. I'm like, oh, you know what? Watching him go through the line, he got on. This other guy, he got on, and I think I'm smaller than him. But as we got up there, that moment of truth was there. My son sits down in his seat, and the restraint is brought down. I squeeze in to mine, and I'm trying to push it down, and it won't go down. It won't latch. And I felt terrible at that moment, but I was sitting there praying, like, just please let this employee, come up and just hit it just once. I'm so crammed in here. I don't even think it matters if I have one, restraint on or not, but just let it click once. And then the employee came, and then another employee came, and they began to push down as hard as they could, but it wouldn't latch. And I was told I had to get off the ride. And I don't know if any of you parents are out there have ever saw in your child's eyes embarrassment, maybe, sadness. But as I had to get off that ride, I saw that in my son's eyes. And it tears me up. It still tears me up, but I didn't ride his first roller coaster with him. I didn't even try with my daughter on her first roller coaster. And I got this picture here. I just love the face. I mean, it's scared. I love this picture, but it makes me sad because that should have been me riding with her. And I know, like, some of you guys might be thinking, oh, come on, Brian, it's just a roller coaster, no big deal. But to me, it was. I wanted to be the one that was holding her in there, being there to protect her. And I know it may sound silly, but I didn't get to do that on her first roller coaster. I'm thankful my brother-in-law filled in for me that day. She had a great time. That first drop was a moment of fear, but she made it through it. And this picture too, the thing that cracks me up is you see the two adults, the one right up front, and then the one back, just that kind of smirk on the face and that big smile. And then you look at the kids, in each of those seats, and there's just fear. But I didn't even try to ride that with my daughter. I love baseball. My family loves baseball. We're a St. Louis Cardinal family, and I was coming to the realization as we go to these ball games that I wouldn't be fitting in these seats too much longer. But right now, what I was doing at that time, I was taking my kids and strategically placing them so I wouldn't sit next to a big adult or another adult because I was big and I was going off into their seats. I know it wasn't comfortable for my kids, and it wasn't fair to them either. When I got hired at the Hamilton County Communications Center, I was assigned to work third shift, like I said earlier, and I always want to give a shout out to the third shifters that are tuning in because it truly takes a special person to work that shift. This was the first time I ever worked it, and I ultimately spent 12 years on it, a little over 12 years. It was challenging at times. I would drink massive amount of Mountain Dew. That was a drink of my choice to help keep me alert and awake. And 5-hour energy drinks were also a big part of that. And then a lot of snacks. And it wasn't healthy. And I was packing on the pounds. Between that and then a lack of sleep that you would get, I was packing it on. I began working my way up in the organization and was promoted to supervisor. New responsibility, some new stresses, and it was as a supervisor that I had to lead through some very extremely challenging and difficult situations. And one of the most challenging ones was leading our shift through the line of duty deaths of 2 firefighters from the same department. They had fallen through the floor into the basement. And when this happened, I had worked hard to make sure everyone working was okay on that day. I knew several of them had actually worked with one of them, and years passed. The following days and weeks, I kept a close eye on everybody. I was, working hard to make sure they were all okay. But something I did was I neglected myself. I contained and compartmentalized my emotions, buried it way deep down. And I tell you, this would ultimately come back to bite me. Over the years, I became pretty good at compartmentalizing and containing my feelings, and I became pretty good at putting on a mask. And I tell you, I don't always play the guitar at work, and I really don't even know how to play it. But that day we had somebody bring a guitar in, and before the shift we were just kind of messing around, and then somebody snapped that picture. But not many people knew the pain behind that smile. And I know probably a lot of you can relate out there. Some of you guys are going through stuff, and you're putting on that mask and saying, "Hey, I'm okay. It's all good." When really you're torn up on the inside. So talk to a lot of you 911 professionals out there right now. And I know some of you guys have taken some of those calls, have worked some of those radios, and those calls, that radio traffic is going to stick with you forever. Some of those situations. Some of you supervisors and trainers, you've listened to some of the calls of your employees and your trainees, and some of those that they've taken, and those stick with you. I've had a couple calls that still stick with me today. My call was a guy or a mother who had called in, and this was like right after I had been released from training, my first time I ever worked overtime, and this is a call that I got. This mother called in, and she is just screaming hysterically, and I knew something terrible had happened there. When the address information popped up on the screen, I recognized it was my hometown. I recognized the last name. And as I started to get more information, found out that the mother had walked in to the house to find her son had shot himself, and he was laying in this pool of blood. Says a mom coming in, seeing your son laying in a pool of blood, dead. I couldn't imagine, but the screams were unlike anything I'd ever heard. And as I questioned further, I realized that this was a guy that I went to high school with. Hearing the screams of the mother was hard. Knowing that the person was difficult as well. The other calls that just still stick with me were some calls that I reviewed. And one of them was mom put her child in a high chair to feed the child. And the child was starting to kick back in the seat. And the seat tipped back, and then the child's head went through a glass curio cabinet, hit a main artery, and mom is watching this child bleed out as she's calling 911. And the cries from that mother, it's just terrible, agonizing, just terrible cries from the mother. And then another one was from a neighbor, or a neighbor had the neighbor had called in, and the father who was next door had walked out of the house and was leaving the residence, and his child, or the children, all the children out there playing. Well, the dad didn't know that his child had went under the vehicle and was hiding under the vehicle. And I'm not going to give all the details of what exactly happened, but basically that father ran over the child, and the child passed away. And again, the screams from that dad, from the parents there, were terrible. And I want to say too, and really give a shout out, because those two calls were handled by the same call taker. She's since retired, but she was just the way she handled calls like this. She always seemed to get those types of calls The way she handled it was amazing. The way she handled herself afterwards was amazing. And I know these calls are going to be calls that are going to stick with her for the rest of her life. She got them the help that they needed. Even though the situation didn't turn out the way we wanted, the help was sent out. Those are the things that aren't going to leave you. And it takes a special person to do what you do. Many of us who have been in this industry for a while, we come from an age where we were expected to just deal with it and suck it up. You know, some of you might have heard it's part of the job. You know, suck it up. Come from an age where you showed that you're any sign of struggling with something like that, that was a sign of weakness. Shame on us for allowing that to happen. It's important that we deal with and process these things. We've got to understand, and we've been hearing it so much lately, but it's so true. We've got to understand that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. And I just want to say I applaud and welcome the push in our industry, the 911 industry, for mental health and wellness. Bringing things to light to have programs that will help people work through it. It's encouraging to see centers establishing peer support groups, support teams. And for the associations, NINA and APCO, to be really focusing in on mental health and wellness as well. Well, feeling completely overwhelmed by everything that I was feeling at that time back then, seeing I was headed down the path that I was headed down and that it wasn't good for me or my family, I realized I needed help. I reached out to the employee assistance program. As a manager, I had been telling employees about that. I had been encouraging them, here's the number. Don't be afraid to call. Yet here I was the one that was always not ready to call for myself. Well, I did. And I think when I called that day, I said something like, I need help. And that's about all I said. But I ended up getting connected with somebody. And this was the first time I ever sat down and really talked to somebody, somebody I didn't know. And I was able to unload so much stuff. I kind of felt sorry for the poor guy when I sat down, because it was just like, it was just coming out. I had a hard time stopping it. But, I had several sessions and so valuable. So talking with this person, it helped quite a bit. I talked to my primary care doctor, and I tell you, this was all new for me. I never done anything like this, and I will tell you too, I felt weak for even needing to seek help. But I want to tell you, to every one of you that's listening, even if you're not in the 911 industry or public safety or whatever, if you're struggling, if you're overwhelmed, it is not weak at all to seek or ask for help. Talking with my doctor, I began, 430 pounds. I had some other health issues that were going on, like high blood pressure and stuff like that. And, but in talking with my doctor, I began to research some weight loss surgeries. I had lost weight in the past, but would bring it back on plus more. I was at a point there where I knew I needed help as well. But I tell you, I want to be honest with you too. As I was making this decision about surgery, I was so worried about what people would think. So caught up in what people would think. I was worried they would think that it was the easy way out. And I do want to say that surgery is a tool, but it is not the fix all. It's not the easy way out. You've got to be mentally prepared. You've got to make it a lifestyle change. And I can tell you, if you don't, and you start going back to some of your old ways, you can start traveling that path again. So it's not an easy way out. But I want to tell you too, we can't worry about what other people think so much that it impacts our life. I've been terrible about that, and then to this point that I was so close to not even doing it because I was so worried about what they would think. Now, if I would have not done anything and just stayed where I was at, I don't know if I would be here today, honestly. I went forward with the surgery. And shortly afterwards, I began to exercise, and primarily it was walking at that point. And I just want to say too, and I want to start pushing through this a little bit quicker here, but I'm amazed at the people that come into our lives. I want you to think about that too. I mean, the people that come into your lives, the paths that cross in our lives. And I want to tell you about one instance that was the case for me. And I've had so many other instances where our paths have crossed with other people, and I mean, you just know that was a really supposed to happen for the time. But I want to tell you about this specific situation here. I was, like I said, I was walking on a regular basis, and when it was nice outside, my wife and I would walk inside. Or we would walk outside, but when it was raining, we had the opportunity to go into the high school gym, and they have a track around the gym. Well, one day while we're walking, I passed this guy about 5 or 6 times, and this guy was very muscular. I didn't know him at the time. Very muscular and fit, and he, as we were walking past, he had this shirt on that said, "I'm training for a Spartan," and I had an idea what the Spartan was. I knew it was like some sort of mud run or obstacle course race or something like that. But I was sitting there thinking, like, why am I passing you like 5 or 6 times if you're training for a Spartan? Little did I know that he had a big workout right before that. But it's the last time I was passing him, I went by and walked him and kind of turned back and said, "We're training for a Spartan," and he laughed. And he said, "Oh, you should come back next Thursday. We're actually training for a Spartan." And he had this group of people that were there, and they were actually going to be doing a Spartan, later in that year. And so I told him, I was like, "Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not fit. There's no way I could do that." And he went on to say, "There's people in our group that can do 100 push-ups no problem, and there's some that are struggling to do 1 or 2. But he's like, "Man, just come out and just do this with us." And so I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. And just a little more info on the Spartan race. So there's several levels there. So the Spartan sprint is usually about 4 miles and 20 obstacles. The super, they call it super, is about 8+ miles and 25 obstacles, and then the beast is 13+ miles and 30 obstacles or over. And so very challenging. They were getting ready to do the sprint later that year. But I told him, I ended up deciding I'm going to do this. So I went, and I tell you, that group of people were so encouraging. And he's right. There was ones that were very fit and could do these things no problem. And then there were some that were really working to get to that place to where they could do the Spartan. So encouraging, amazing group of people. And so glad that our paths crossed, and I met him, and he has become a great friend and mentor, and so thankful for that. So Spartan, this may sound crazy, but doing that Spartan put a lot of things into perspective for me. Out on that course, I realized the similarities in life. One, that we're all going to come up against obstacles, and some of them we're going to come up against and not see any way around it. We're only going to see the impossibility, and in our mind, we're ultimately going to be like, "There is no way this is going to happen. I'm out." I love what Sarah said in her keynote just earlier. Sometimes you just got to say yes and do those things. Things that are out of our comfort zone. And we'll talk about the comfort zone here a little bit. But I love what she was saying there, and I want to give her props too for, man, powering through. Not feeling good, but doing it anyway. So great job there. But again, the similarities in life and this race was something. We're going to come up against obstacles. Some we won't see any way around, and some we'll see the impossibility of it and just be like, you know what, I can't do it. Well, the inverted monkey bars was that for me, and that's the picture that's on the very bottom there, kind of in the center. As a 430-pound guy, I wasn't at the time I was doing these things, but being heavy all my life, you never think about being 14 feet up in the air, climbing up and over these bars. And that scared me. And I saw the impossibility of it. And I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And fear just kind of stuck there with me. But I went ahead and I tried it. I went ahead and I pulled myself up on that first rung. And then, the guys I was with, they would be like, come on, Brian, you got this. You got this. Well, I'm going slow. I'm trying to get up and over there, and I started to get a line of people behind me, ready for me to get up and over, so they could do it. And what was crazy is I got up there. I got to the very top. That fear really hit me, and I was like almost paralyzed by it. Like I'm not going to be able to go up and over, and I'm not going to be able to go down. And as everybody started, come on, Brian, you got this. You can do it. You can do it. I decided, man, I'm going to go after it. I'm going to do it. And I was so encouraged by all those people. And I went up and I went over and I accomplished that. I overcame that obstacle that scared me so bad. But I realized too at that moment that there are people in our lives that want to help us, that do genuinely want to see us succeed. There's going to be some haters out there too, but there are a lot of people that want to help you overcome, help you and encourage you to do the things that you didn't think were possible. So that was another lesson learned out there. But I tell you, I really began to realize that I'm capable of a lot more than what I thought I was capable of. I want to share these two pics with you. And the one on the left here is the first Spartan Beach that I completed. It was 13 miles. Thought I was going to die, literally. I mean, it was so challenging, and I could hardly walk there by the end. But as I was walking and I was thinking, I've got to finish this. I've got to finish this. I was thinking about my kids, my wife, and my dad. I was thinking about my family. I was thinking about so much, and I just kept taking another step. And when they snapped that picture, I was looking over, and it's right before the finish line. And I see my wife and kids there cheering me on. I couldn't help but tear up. And, I was thankful that my kids were able to see me accomplish that, to overcome some of those challenges and obstacles. And then the one on the right was a trifecta weekend is what they call it. And that's where you do the beast on the first day. So the 13 plus miles the first day. And then the next day you do the super and the sprint. So almost another 13 miles that next day. I was able to do that in West Virginia. And that was so tough. But again, it was something I was able to accomplish, and that helped me realize physically and mentally, we are capable of so much more than what we think. There's so much untapped potential that we just let sit there. So we'll move on here. I love to tell you that once you overcome obstacles, that and challenges that you're not going to have to face them again. But that's not the case. You're going to have to experience and face them all throughout your life. And often these obstacles are going to be what will strengthen you and prepare you for the obstacles and challenges that you're going to face in your life. So I want to talk real quick about my dad. He was a great man. And I tell you, he showed us a lot of love and compassion. And anyone that you would come across, man, they would tell you that too, that he was just a very compassionate, loving, and caring man. At the end of July 2020, my dad passed away. And this was so difficult. And I tell you, I miss him. Coming up on a year now, it's hard to believe, but I miss him, and I wish I could just pick up the phone. I've done that several times. I've picked up the phone to call him. Just wish you could talk to him one more time. I'd love to talk to him about Cardinal baseball. I always talked about Cardinal baseball. Something I realized that I was as he was getting close to passing away was how quickly time goes by. And I just want to tell you, take the time to make the most of each day with your family, with your loved ones, those who are important in your life. Make the most of each day. A friend told me shortly after he had passed that it would feel like you're walking through concrete and then waist deep water. Then eventually it'll feel like you're walking through sand and then grass, barefoot. And that feeling of grass under your feet will always remind you of the love that you and your dad had for one another. I thought that was really powerful. And I tell you, I found that to be so true. And maybe some of you guys who have experienced loss have experienced that same kind of, it's a good analogy there. I wanted to add this here too, because I thought it was just so powerful. Time is precious, and don't waste it. Don't waste it. Don't live with regrets. Pour into others. I say that to you as parents, to you as leaders, to you as future leaders. Pour into others. I'm going to be very quick here. We're running close on time, but in February, I had another obstacle that had come up. I was notified that our company was doing a workforce reduction, and not a whole lot of people might not know about this. I usually keep my stuff to myself, so that some of you guys listening, this may be a shock. But I remember talking on the phone and being advised that I was going to be laid off. Now, going from a county, where 21 years in, and thinking I'm going to retire pretty much from there, and then having another opportunity come about and making that change. This was, I know there's risk, but this was something I really didn't see coming. I know it might sound crazy, but I didn't see it coming. Being notified, my heart sank into my stomach and my head into my hands. I was thinking about the impossibilities. I saw the impossibilities of the situation. I was thinking worst case scenario, my family's going to be on the streets. I'm not going to be able to provide for them. All this stuff. I got myself together. I had a choice here. I couldn't sit and bury my head in the sand and see the impossibilities of the situation and feel sorry for myself. I had to get all together, recognize the obstacle I was up against, change my mindset, and grow through it. And I tell you, I did. I have developed so much in the past several months. Forging my way through it, though, a lot of prayer. Weeks passed. I'm not going to lie. I was interviewing and doing different things that I honestly didn't think I'd be doing. But here I am. I'm doing it. Worries, anxiousness would slip in. Wondering what's going to happen. Ultimately knowing it's all going to be okay, but what's going to happen? And I tell you, time goes by, and I was thinking just at that moment where it's like, what am I going to do? And an opportunity came, and an opportunity I didn't see coming. I can gladly say now that I am back in the workforce, back able to help and do the things that I want to do there. And I had the opportunity to go actually back with the company I was with before and work on their project management team. So I'm thrilled to be doing that. But I did learn a few things, man, that the one work was my identity. And when that's gone, when that was gone, I've given so much to myself, to my work, my thoughts, my time, my emotions, many things. And it was ultimately at the expense to my family and myself. I did some soul searching. And I tell you, I've come out a lot stronger. I think the obstacles too that were before me beforehand were ultimately, things that really strengthened me and helped me through this as well. So I'm going to fly through this. I know we're getting really close on time, and I've got a couple of things I want to make sure you see. So the comfort zone. What is the comfort zone? It's a place or situation where one feels safe or at ease or with minimal to no stress. And I'd even say it's a place where you feel confident and in control. So why would we want to leave that place? We're all too familiar with it. Why do we stay in it? It's because what we know. We know what to expect. We know and can control and manage the things in the comfort zone. But I want to tell you, to grow, to find yourself, you've got to move beyond your comfort zone. You're not going to grow. You're not going to reach your full potential if you stay in that comfort zone. Life truly begins at the end of your comfort zone. So looking at this slide again, I'm going to go through it really quick. I thought this just illustrated it very well. In the comfort zone, we feel in control. When we move beyond that comfort zone, we move into the fear zone. In the fear zone, we make excuses, we lack self-confidence, and we are affected by the opinions of others. And that's enough to make us go right back to that comfort zone. If we're able to break through the fear zone, we move into the learning zone. And in that learning zone, we start making a lot of progress there. We're learning to deal with our challenges, our problems. We start to acquire new skills. And most importantly, we're extending that comfort zone. And as you can see, just beyond the learning zone is the growth zone. And the growth zone is where this is truly where you find yourself. In there, you find purpose, you conquer your obstacles, and you live your dreams and set new goals. If you're going to overcome your obstacles, it's imperative that you get out of your comfort zone. So to build a better you gotta know how you see yourself. You have got to see your worth. You've got to understand that you're unique and amazing. There's only one of you. And you're capable of so much more than what you think. And so many of us see ourselves differently than what others see. And I want you to watch this video real quick here, and hopefully my audio will work.
I'm a forensic artist. Worked for the San Jose Police Department from 1995 to 2011.
I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them. They couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
What would be your most prominent feature?
Kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
So here, this is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
So yeah, that's she looks closed off and fatter, sadder too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy. I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah. We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right. And we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
We all have a tendency to find our flaws, but we have to be grateful for who we are. We have to look at the positives and not dwell on the negatives. And I really like what this woman said there towards the end. We need to be grateful. How we see ourselves impacts the choices and the friends we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts so much. Seeing yourself in a different way is extremely important when in the process of building a better you. You have so much potential. You have to stop looking at the flaws, stop looking at your weakness, stop comparing yourself to others, and look at the greatness within you. Like I said earlier, you're unique, you're amazing, you're capable of more than what you think. And we got to stop being a prisoner to our fear, to self-doubt. You've all seen and heard things that people may not understand. You've been through things that others will never be able to go through on their own. And this is what makes you special. This is what makes you unique. Don't focus on your flaws. Don't focus on the negative. Look at the greatness within you. Who does building a better you benefit? It benefits you. You're going to find purpose. You're going to realize your potential. You'll find the greatness within you. You'll conquer your obstacles. You'll do the things that you never thought you could do. You'll conquer your obstacles. New opportunities and open doors will open for you. I'm going to roll through this pretty quick. I know we're right on time. But who does building a better you benefit? It benefits your family. Taking good care of you means that the people in your life will receive the best of you rather than what's left of you. And you never know who you'll inspire to get out of their comfort zone. And my family, they did the Spartan in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. That was awesome. But my wife, my kids, and brother and sister-in-law, they did the Spartan in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And I got a picture of that coming up here shortly. But there's my sister-in-law. Who does building a better you benefit? Those around you, your friends, your coworkers, those you lead, your organization. You will have a positive impact on those around you. It's not all going to be sunshine and lollipops once you're a better you. You'll still have the challenges. You'll still have the haters, but how you cope and deal with that will make a difference. And my sister-in-law here, so proud of her. She overcame the obstacles of breast cancer, and then she was able to get out there on the Spartan course and overcome those obstacles. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take good care of yourself first. All right. I'm going to go through here. Who does building a better you benefit? Or what do you need what do you need to be successful when building a better you? You've got to know that you're allowed to take care of yourself. In our industry, we're all about taking care of others, and those people that are calling in for help, the officers and firefighters in the field, you got to understand that you're allowed to take care of you. What do you need to be successful? You've got to identify your obstacles, what you're up against, and understand that you're capable of so much and that you can overcome them. You have to find your why. Find that why that you can run through walls with. Find the why that is so strong that any obstacle doesn't stand a chance. Find the why that's going to stir up the emotion. You got to get out of your comfort zone. This is imperative. It'll be challenging. It'll be sometimes painful. It'll be uncomfortable, but you got to get out of your comfort zone to find your true potential. And finally, community. Surround yourself with people who are heading in the same direction as you, that the same direction that you want to head, people who are going to encourage and lift you up rather than tear you down. And here I'm going to share my community real quick. This is a Spartan community there on the left, the group that was training, the walking group that we meet with, usually almost every Saturday morning, walk with them. Great people heading the same direction. COVID had us trying to do things a little differently, try to get people, and we try to get on the workout online. And then I've come across another great community, a great group of people at a local gym. And shout out to the Anytime Fitness crew here in Harrison. Great group of people. Finding your why. Find the why that you can run through walls with. This is my why. I didn't get a ride in my first roller coaster with my oldest son or my daughter, but there on the left, I was able to take my youngest on his first roller coaster. This is my why. I want to say to you, sometimes the things that's holding you back, it's all in your head. Don't give up on your hopes. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on yourself. If the stress is holding you back, you got to let it go. The fear, let it go. The sorrows, let it all go. Weakness, let it go. Don't let those things hold you back. Get out of your comfort zone, find your purpose, and be great. So thank you guys for tuning in. I want to make sure you have my contact info here. Sorry for going over a little bit, Ricardo. Feel free to reach out to me. It's my personal email, LinkedIn, Twitter. I like to try to post something every once in a while. If any of you guys are interested and want to do a Spartan, I'm going to be doing one in West Virginia coming up in August, hopefully another one in September. And then for those of you in the Midwest, July 2022, there's a Spartan at Notre Dame Stadium. I'm planning on doing that. So maybe we can all get shirts that say we're training for a Spartan. But thank you guys. Wish you the absolute best.
Excellent work as always, my friend. Very, very powerful. And, all the information is here right now, and you're part of the Discord community as well. So if you're able to put this information in there, that would be amazing. And everyone who has joined the Discord community, you can go in there and not only further connect with everyone, but connect with Brian as well. And I said that because I'm going to drop your PowerPoint here really quick, and I would like you to go ahead and minimize it off of your screen, because everyone who is on here right now, it was covering Brian's entire screen. I want you to go and just kind of skim through some of these comments here. You have done something amazing. Very, very powerful story to share. And seriously, you can go into the comments here, and it is just nothing but love and support, and amazing as always. There's just not much more I can say, man, that this is awesome. A lot of people actually in the comments saying, I needed this today. I needed to hear this. I needed to hear this story. And a lot of people are going through, maybe not to the extent, but something similar, and it's true. They needed, like right there, Vicky says, just what I needed. Excellent work, man.
Wow.
They're doing amazing things.
Thank you, Ricardo. Man, thank you for what you're doing here too. I mean, giving us an opportunity, to share the stories. I think you've said that all along, man, that, we all got a story to tell. It's important that we share them. And thank you guys for the great comments too. I'm just kind of scrolling through these, kind of overwhelming. You might see me tear up online here.
and it's completely good. That is awesome. That's why we're all here, and it's been amazing, man. Thank you so very much again for doing this this presentation. Very powerful, and it's not an easy thing to do, to be able to open up to people from literally all over the world who are watching this session and who will be watching in the replay as well. So again, make sure everyone who's watching this to jump in there and make contact, connect with each other, share your stories, and connect with Brian as well. He'll have his information in there. The rest of the speakers and all, they're jumping in and out of that channel as well. The next session that we have coming up is going to be at 1:15 p.m. Eastern time, and it's called How to Ignite Your Fire. Why do we go from best dispatcher to most disgruntled, and what can we do about it? And this is going to be with Ann Camaro, and she is out of Cambridge Emergency Communications out of Massachusetts. Thank you very much again, Brian, and to everyone. I will bring you all to the next one. We'll be back.